Okay.
Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Zuby on ZubeTube and Earthlings chat. I'm here with one of my favorite people, Miss Johnson.
Hello, Booby. How are you?
I am okay. Yeah, we were just discussing before I started recording the storm that has hit the south, and I only caught a little bit of it and then I had to leave.
Right.
Um, so anyway, but Miss Johnson is in the throes of it.
In the very midst of it, living here in Mississippi, we are never prepared for a storm of this magnitude. To have had some ice mixed with snow for more than 3 days has been very much of a crisis. So much so that I've had to relocate temporarily. Uh, and so I'm here with my son and his family. Um, in the next city over, they have the snow, but they still have the amenities. They have the lights and they have the water and they have the gas. So we're okay. We're
Right,
okay.
right.
Yes. Yes.
It's, I mean, well, it's hard because in one, so for example, in my apartment, the I was down there visiting with my kids, and the storm, we got the first few days of ice and stuff like that, and that just made it difficult for traveling and stuff. But because I live in Colorado most of the time, I have good tires, you know what I mean? And I'm familiar with driving in this weather. So, but in Colorado, we're prepared for this because we get it all the time. So it's a whole different story when you're in an area that's not used to something like that. And so the night before we left, and it's when things got really bad, I guess.
Mhm.
The water in my apartment was turned off because the washer and dryer hookups are out in the balcony in like a closet, but they're totally out in the cold right now. You know what I mean? So it's buildings just aren't built for that in some ways. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. Well, when I left work Friday, I knew that I needed to stop at the grocers to buy a few vittles, something to eat, just in case, just in case. I really did not prepare my mind for what happened. So it was Sunday evening, and I was home alone, and I was enjoying my quiet time, and wasn't paying much attention at all to what was going on. I finished my therapy notes because somehow or another I just decided that I wanted to not have. I finished my therapy notes starting Friday evening, and I spent Saturday completing my work. So I wanted to have a free day, Sunday and Monday, since Monday was a holiday. So I'm telling myself, so I'm just going to enjoy my 2 days of free time. So at some point, I looked out the window. Had to be late Saturday night or early Sunday morning. But it was Sunday, late Sunday night. And um, so I wasn't going to work Monday. So I'm thinking, no big deal. So whenever it was that I looked out the window, the grounds were covered and I wasn't prepared. I wasn't. But because I didn't have to leave the house and because I've already had made my pot of soup, I was satisfied. Still had lights, still had water. So I didn't think much of it. So Tuesday, we had snow. And of course, got the notice from work that we would not have to go in the office, but that if we had, if we had brought our laptop home, we could still clock in and would be expected to work a full day. So Tuesday I worked a full day, but I changed my schedule from 12 to 9, and I worked from 8 to 5. And I was able to really utilize that time to reach out to some of my clients. And of course, when people are already dealing with, when we're already struggling with adversities in our lives, and then we get a storm out of nowhere, then we have to prepare for that. So I was really thankful to be able to talk with those individuals whom I was able to reach out to. So it was a storm, but I was prepared, and I'm always prepared for that kind of storm.
Yeah.
Just not prepared for the snow.
Right. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Well, first of all, it's difficult because, I mean, storms happen in our life, right? My thoughts are going like, so, because, from my perspective, like and this is selfish, like, I'm in recovery, and most people watching this know that, and that's how I know you. And so this was a visit with my kids, which I don't get many. And I had to cut it short, and it's fine. And usually I'm really, really good at like going with the flow. You know what I mean? Because I've learned that through my life. But there is this, I have been a whiny baby about this. I mean, I have pitched the biggest fit, and I wanted nothing more than to just remain in that storm because that's where my kids were. And anyway, but it's just eye-opening because I do now, it's serious. You know what I mean? And so I was in my own little world, and now I'm trying to get back so I can have my like last day of visitation. And I can't get back there, but it's like storms in our lives, and especially in recovery. It's like, I actually made a joke about drinking vodka. I was like, God, I try to do everything right, and then this visit gets messed up, and I was like, why am I sober? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
remember when I'm speaking to you, or when we're dealing with storms in our lives and those situations that comes at us unexpectedly. Mm-hmm. And so I have just we cannot be more sensitive to pleasure without being more sensitive to pain.
Yeah.
That become a mantra for many of us.
Yeah.
Right. Alan Watts.
That's Alan Watts?
That's Alan Watts.
He's a freaking hippie, Miss Johnson.
Yeah, he is, but he's pretty good with me. Sometimes we can get our best messages from those individuals.
I just love you. You like never cease to surprise me.
I didn't have his name, but I've had to say it so many times in my own personal life.
Yeah.
And especially in this storm. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'd spoken with a really good friend of mine, former coworker from where I work, who had just relocated to Texas. And so I'm knowing they're there and just bought a new home. So Tuesday morning, I called her just to check on them. And she was like livid, bless her heart. Mm-hmm. They had no lights. The water was just and I kept repeating that mantra. We got to find something positive to get out of this, because if we're incapable of finding that center of every storm, every situation, that lesson, then we will become perplexed and dismayed, caught off guard. So I'm in my home. So while I'm talking to this young lady, I still have lights. I still, everything was okay in my house. But I'm listening to her, and I kept saying, you cannot be, we just have to zero in on this. We cannot be more sensitive to pleasure without being sensitive, more sensitive to pain. So I'm saying this to this young lady. So Wednesday, my water is off. I was barely, Tuesday night, I started to, I ran water in the tub. It just ran right out because of the pressure out of both tubs. And I went back in. I said, you know what, I'm not going to run it again. So I was able to find enough containers where I could fill with water. And so Wednesday morning, I got up and the water early Wednesday morning in the early AM, and the water was off. I went back to bed because what could I do? I went back to bed knowing that I had just enough water, and I live alone. So I had enough water, at least for the moment. And so I had to tell myself and embrace the same thing that I was saying to my colleague. I cannot be more sensitive to pleasure without being willing to be sensitive to pain. And when we come face to face with those unexpected, having to take the babies back home, and I've been a whiny baby about it. What am I supposed to gain from this? Who am I going to encounter again, whose situation will call for me to ask myself, why am I allowing this to control my world?
Yeah.
When I'm looking at somebody else's situation and I'm like, how can I be present for them? How can I be available in the moment for them if I'm not able to embrace my own pain?
Yeah. Yeah.
And every time you come on, and every time you do a ZubeTube,
ZubeTube.
You're speaking directly to someone who will need to hear exactly what is coming from Zube.
Yeah.
And they will be able to say, you speak my language. I can hear what you're saying.
You're right. You're right. I mean, and the message is, I mean, the lesson that I am taking from this is that there will be another opportunity for me to go there and I just have one more day of visitation. So I'm going to go back to Texas. I'm going to exercise that day. And I think that will speak volumes to them. You know what I mean? Like, I had to leave because my boyfriend had to work and he couldn't fly out. And so he needed to get home to get back to work. So there just wasn't a choice. And then I think about it and I'm like, well, that's one less household that the state of Texas had to worry about, because I wouldn't have had water. And you know what I mean? Anyway, it was the smart thing to do. It was just, I had a tantrum, and then I thought, I know I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have drank, but I really thought about it. I was like, I mean, it was just, uh,
Yes, in the
but
moment.
I know. And, and it's something actually, I remember you were always, one of the things that I think is hard is that people are so ashamed of relapsing or admitting that they're having cravings, or you know what I mean? And it was like when I spoke it, I was like, I'm just going to go and buy a bottle of vodka. And then I laughed and I was like, no, you're not. But if I had been like, that's a bad thought, don't have that thought, then I would have buried it, and and it might have gotten stronger. Do you know what I mean? Without giving it a
No,
voice.
yes. And so and so every individual whom we encounter who's struggling with relapse triggers, um, who's going through even the storm now and being locked in, housed in. What do we say? How do you speak to them? How do you help them to understand that that craving, that thought will pass?
It'll pass.
It will pass. But even if you make, even if, and you're way past this, even if, and this is one of my biggest struggle with having to help individuals who are in recovery understand, is that relapse happen.
Yeah.
What we do after the relapse is what makes all the difference. How do we pick ourselves up again and start over, knowing that we can learn from that situation, that every time we come up against the wall, and if we lapse, if we've not arrived,
You can still start over again.
we can still start over. And because we have been, some of us, I don't know about in your world, but in my world, we have been from the church house, from the schoolhouse, wherever, we have been drilled. It has been drilled into us that we have to be perfect. We have to do it the right way. We can't miss it, because if we miss it, we're a failure.
And that's not true.
That's not true.
Mm-mm.
Every mistake that I've ever made, every negative circumstance that has ever happened to me was preparing me for the person that I am today.
Yeah. Me too. I mean, me too. Like I don't know if you saw, I had posted on Facebook, and like my kids are doing this beautiful thing where they have a sense of humor about, that's the language of me. It's the language of my family. You know what I
Hello?
mean? And and my daughter was walking behind me. Actually, this is really like a good I don't know. She was walking behind me in the snow, and she only had sneakers because she lives in Texas. So she didn't think she needed snow boots, but she was walking behind me and she shouted up to me joking, and she said, "Hey mom, I'm following in your footsteps." And she giggled in a way that I knew she was, and I said, "Oh God, don't follow too far." And then I said, "Actually, you're good until about 40. But, I was a powerhouse until 40." And I have to tell you, Miss Johnson, I was really proud for saying that, because you know what? Like I survived. I have chills right now. I survived a lot of stuff. Like I did good. And then even when I didn't do good, I asked for help. I I didn't succeed at quitting drinking the first time I tried, but I kept trying. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just when you keep trying, and I hope that's the lesson that my kids learn from me. And I think it is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Is it okay? And it's okay. Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's all right.
Your daughter, of course, your daughter is your mini you. She's oh gosh, she is so much like you. And
Yeah,
and
she
the
she she's
uh,
even more sarcastic though, but it's just, it's a beautiful, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. And I think about I really am proud of the person that they get to see now, because I have, I've worked really hard to get where I am. And even when it looked like I was failing, I was learning new ways to be better. You know what I mean?
You were simply evolving and becoming.
Yes.
And every day that's what's happening to us. Yeah. We cannot be more sensitive to pleasure
And we are.
without being more sensitive to pain. Because it is in those painful experiences, those embarrassing moments, the white t-shirt thing, right?
I would,
Yeah, yeah.
you guys, Miss Johnson dresses like to the nines. Like she she's having feelings, I know, about being in a white t-shirt right now.
I was getting ready as I was prepared to put on the white t-shirt to do this meeting. Not me. If I was home and I would have gone through all of these, so what? So what? So learning to take it off.
Yeah.
And just be you purely who you are.
Yeah.
I just
vulnerable.
Yeah.
Vulnerable.
And that is one of the things that kept showing up in the snow. Even last night when I was, all of the lights were out and I was waiting for my sons, and I was looking out, and the snow is so bright. Snow is so bright at night; it lights up everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the message I've kept hearing out of the snow for me in these times is that if ever we needed cleansing, if ever we needed a renewal to take place on the face of this earth, we need it now. Yeah. And so we are confronting the storm, a snowstorm that so many of us were not prepared for. And we are so perplexed by all of the things that's happening with the outages of the light outages, the water system in the city of Jackson being completely, shut down. And we will lose an opportunity, we will miss an opportunity to see the value of the snow, of the for me, the message is that it has a way of killing off diseases, cleansing the earth. And if we're not able to be sensitive and embrace the painfulness, and that's easy to say for individuals who are able to go to, yes, I'm here at my son's house. I get to be here with my grandbaby and my son and his beautiful family. And so I'm very fortunate. And I try to be sensitive to the pains of other people, the hurt, the losses. And if we're so used to the pleasurable moments in our lives, we will miss an opportunity to be present in the moment with those individuals whose lives has been turned upside down.
Yes.
In the storm.
Yeah. And I think I have trouble with that sometimes about, because yes, there are people struggling. And so we want to be like not insensitive to that and say, well, you should be grateful. You know what I mean? So like, this isn't that, but is there, if someone is in a position where they can be grateful, you know what I mean? Or have gratitude, then we're in a better position to be able to help one another, to help other people, to, because a lot of my life was spent going, woe is me, you know, and everything can be overwhelming. I mean, somebody flipping you off when you're driving, you know what I mean? Like,
Zube calling me up and asking, can you, I was, well, texting me and asking, is it okay? Do you think you can do it? Yes, I can, you know, I thought about, hey, I might need to call her back and say, no, I'm not prepared because Miss Johnson has to cover up because she's insecure when she's not looking a certain way. Well, it might just be time for me to be okay in the moment, present.
Oh, you are.
In the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah. I love it. I think you look amazing. maybe that's the look of having grandbabies around.
Yeah, and it's just a little earlier before I got your text. The baby had just cuddled up on my, yeah, and she just fell out there, and I'm like, you guys, is this something that she is just there, and she kept looking up at me, and she kept touching my face, and just the most rewarding, the most precious moment for me to be able to cuddle that little girl. And I'm here because of the storm.
It displaced you from your house and
This place, yes, but an experience that I probably would not have had
right
with that little girl.
Right.
It had not been for the storm.
It's,
yes, because I was prepared to wait it out. You know, I could always have someone to bring some water in. But last night when I heard the transformer blow, and I'm sort of kind of like used to the lights, and I'm thankful for the lights, and I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. And then boom, I'm in the dark. And yes, and I'm totally electric, so I don't have that extra kind of heating system that I counted on to ride it out, just to stay there. So when I called my baby son, he was like, well, mama, I think I'm gonna have to call Mark, and we're gonna have to come get you.
well, bless them.
Yeah, so I'm here.
Yeah,
so I'm here, but it's bigger than that. It's bigger than the storm. It's much bigger than the storm.
It is.
That's what we have to get to see, that every opportunity presented is much bigger than storm. I don't know why little Ava crawled up on my chest for that moment, that precious moment. For me to experience something that was so awe-inspiring with my grandbaby. And I can cherish that for the rest of my short life. But she will cherish it for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
The comfort, the nurture. That's something that when you think about it, you take it for granted that, oh well, that's what grandmothers do. But when you encounter individuals that in the field of addiction, and we are always trying to help individuals overcome their drug and alcohol, their addictions to drugs and alcohol, and we do not understand the need to help them walk back down memory lane to that place where they became broken.
Yeah.
And perhaps it was at 10 months of age.
Yeah.
Perhaps it was in the mother's womb.
You don't,
Perhaps.
yeah, you don't know. Yeah.
You don't know. So we're trying to teach people how to stop drinking alcohol and stop abusing drugs. And we are not in it, and we keep, it's a baffling situation. Why is it that you can't get past this? What is it that causes you to continue to drink when you know that it's going to kill you? What is it that's causing you to continue to use drugs that you know will debilitate your life? Because you're not teaching me and you're not showing me. I need to know why. And what is it that I'm doing? What is it? What need am I getting met when I drink?
Yeah.
What pain am I trying to cope with?
Yeah. Well, I think, was it Carl Jung who said every psychological problem has a spiritual something, I think, has a spiritual solution. Every
Yes,
psychological, yeah.
if we would just, because before there was an alcohol or a drug problem,
Mhm.
there was another psychological, physical, emotional, traumatic experience
Mhm.
that an individual might have experienced.
Yeah.
And hey, if I can self-medicate, if I can, yeah.
That's what I was doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so once we address that underlying problem
Mhm.
and find closure, go back and nurture that little girl, go back and nurture that little boy. Perhaps I got traumatized in a storm. I got trapped in a house and no food. Perhaps I was trapped in a storm, or perhaps I lost my grandmother or my grandfather during the storm when I was just a wee little tot. And or perhaps, and I've heard just doing telehealth sessions across the week, the things that we hear, the trauma, the trauma that we encounter in others. And if we are not able to connect, we miss an opportunity to ask the right question. Remember, telehealth, you can't see the face, you can't touch. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about in the moment.
Yeah. And it,
Be
it's,
prepared.
it, yes. And it's so much, the most important word I think is connection. It's so much about connection. And for me, like, I made a joke about drinking vodka, but I did, I said it out loud and I was like, that's a really stupid idea. I'm not going to do it. And then there's a reason I wanted to talk to you. Do you know what I mean? Because instead of trying to hide in my facade where I don't have problems and I've got everything under control and this is fine, and then hiding in my house by myself crying and drinking vodka, I'm like, I'm going to reach out to Miss Johnson. I called a good friend. I'm going to connect with other people so that I can get this frustrating situation out, and not, and not try to pretend like I'm super person, you know what I mean? But medicate myself.
Isolation,
Mm-hmm.
even in a crowd, we
It can
isolate.
be, we
And
do. That's, yes.
yes, and so when crises appear on our horizon,
Mhm.
those are crises or opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how we encounter the crisis.
Yeah. To be vulnerable.
Yes. And most of us can't stand that.
Uh-uh.
Yeah, I'm vulnerable right now in this white shirt.
I mean, it is, a crisis makes us vulnerable, and we don't like that because we want to be prepared and handle everything. And, wow.
Yeah,
And
and
that's the opportunity.
yeah, you text and no way if you had texted me yesterday before the lights went out and said I want to be prepared for us to do this to connect.
Mhm.
Oh, I would have probably packed the appropriate.
You
I
would
didn't
have,
foundation to put on my face.
you would have,
I'm like, but I got to do it.
but this,
And my daughter-in-law, she's several shades lighter than I am. So even if she had foundation, I couldn't use it.
you would have looked like me. We were blended.
Our best moments are those moments where we're not programmed,
Yeah.
prepared,
Yeah.
prepared to share. Because when we encounter broken humanity, how much time do we have to prepare
We don't.
to be able to care?
We don't.
We do not. We have to be present in the moment.
In the now. And that opportunity.
Yes.
Wow. That's,
Yeah.
I
Life,
really, this couldn't have turned out more amazing, impromptu and everything. And then from beginning to end, see, these are non-rehearsed. They just go where they go. And
yeah. Yeah. We're probably passed through the rehearsal phases of our lives. I know I have. I don't have. I've already gone through my rehearsals. So for me now, it is to live in the moment. For me now, is to be able to meet people where they are
yeah.
in the moment. I won't have time to go and find out what Carl Jung said.
I know. I'm like,
Yeah, I won't be able to go and get my Bible,
yeah.
I would not be able to, pull out my handbook,
Yeah.
the DSMs.
Yeah.
We need to be prepared for those moments. And we do not have, as I've experienced the storm, and this is my 67th year on this earth. And I'm so aware of time, the essence of time, and the importance of embracing every moment, every day, as if it would be our last day, our last opportunity. When I show up in the therapeutic milieu, I never know what the clients will bring or what they're experiencing in the moment. But it is so refreshing to know that I do not have to fear being able to embrace them and be present and to make a difference in the moment.
Yeah.
That's extremely important.
It is.
It's extremely important, not only in my vocation, in my profession. It's important in my life. It's important in my family's life. It's important. When my son showed up to pick me up last night, I was the vulnerable one. I was the one that they had to come and walk down off the slippery steps. I was the one who was being taken care of in the moment. And it was so, it was an experience for me, because I've not been the perfect mother all the time. I didn't drink alcohol nor do drugs, but I was broken.
Yeah.
I was an addict. And I am a recovered addict. And I didn't know how to be a mother. I didn't know how to be a parent when my babies were young. So little Ava, the baby lying on my chest, and me experiencing that as a grandmother was awesome. An awesome moment that I will always cherish. Because learning to be a mother and learning to understand motherhood just by precept and example, having to learn from books and having to learn from everyday experiences, and make all of the mistakes that I've made over the years of being a parent. My boys are still there for me.
Yeah.
My boys still, I'm their mother. And I could have made and I've made many mistakes in knowing how to nurture them, knowing how, I didn't have the textbook, because I tried to do it by textbook, and I was a complete failure, because I was a single woman raising 2 male offspring.
Yeah.
Lost, didn't have a clue. And I made many mistakes, but out of all of the mistakes that I've made, they love me unconditionally.
Yes.
Of all the mistakes that I've made, they love me. And I'm here tonight. I'm here in my baby's home versus my baby being in his mother's home. I'm here, and I'm thankful for this opportunity, because I know it's bigger than the storm.
Yeah.
And it's much bigger, because you called today of all days to do this here in my adult son's home.
Yeah. It was just meant to be. I mean, it was just, and the part where you say that you were the vulnerable one, and that it was, and it made, and that's what you've kind of gotten out of this storm. I always look for the things that I can learn. What can I learn from this, right? And so, yeah.
Let me tell you a little story. This son, I I conceived this young man. I was so in love with his father. I thought, I was like, oh wow, I've met my soulmate, and so I might as well go on and have a baby by this man. So I planned to have this son. We planned to have this young man, this baby.
Mm-hmm.
And so 3 months into the pregnancy, it was storming. It was storming, literally storming.
Mm.
When his father, I said to his father, who was smoking at the time marijuana, and I didn't have a clue. I didn't have a clue. I was wrong. And so I'll never forget it. And I said to him, when you decide that you want to be with me and you want this baby, come get me. And I walked out of the house into the storm, thinking and hoping that he would say, don't leave, please. And so I walked out of the house in the storm. And I did not see him again until it was time for my son to come into the world.
Wow.
And it was rejection, one rejection after the next, one rejection after the next. Ironically, in a snowstorm, I walked. And I'm sitting in his house today.
In a storm.
In a storm. But there's peace and calm, even in the midst of this storm, in this baby's home.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that we encounter, if we live long enough,
Well,
we will be able to say, like Alan Watts, we
yes.
cannot be more sensitive to pleasure without being willing to be sensitive. The willing is my piece. He didn't put that in there. Because we have to be willing.
Yeah.
To go through the painful moments.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I remember in college, I always used to say, like, I had some hard times, and I was like, well, but the hard times are equally, I've had happy times, you know? So it's like this, you can't go up here without going down here. It's almost like a spectrum. I don't know if it's a universal law or what.
It is. Yeah. The universe is always unfolding as it should, right?
It is. It is. And I know, and this worked out like so perfect. I like to keep them about 20 minutes. So I'm going to stop, but I'm going to keep you on because I want to still talk to you. And
okay.
Yeah, there's always something to learn. And I learned a little about myself too, but I think of myself as a very spiritual individual. I meditate and I pray. And I saw a meme one time, and it was like, you're not judged, not that we're judged, it's the wrong word, but it's not about, you know, being in this yoga pose or how you say this prayer or how you worship in church or any of that. It's how are you in situations that you encounter where you might, you know, and it's humbling for me because I was unpleasant for a while, you know, and I'm not going to chat. I'm human as well. You know what I mean? But it's just,
but here's the thing. Let me just say this. And I've heard this across the week, and I was listening to someone ministering a message, and we're talking about sin and how, you know, we God can't love you. And you got to get rid of the sin in your life, and God can't love you, and if you're homosexual, God can't love you because God hates homosexuals. God can't love you if you're a sinner, if you're an alcoholic, if you're a drug addict. Where are we coming from with that? Where are we coming from with that? Because we're all broken humanity. We're all a part of a broken humanity. And when we judge like that, and when we make those kind of off the wall statements that we cannot even validate, because if I ask you to tell me when you heard God say it, then you can't possibly respond in the affirmative.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
You really can't.
The God essence is within us.
Yeah.
So what we're basically saying is, I can't love you if you're not like me.
And you know why we say that? Because I don't love me.
Because I don't love.
Yeah. Because I project it.
So I project. God can't love me because God doesn't love me because of my brokenness, because of my wretchedness. And so the only way that he can love me is if I present myself as white as this pure as this white t-shirt that I'm wearing. I don't have a spot or blemish, but I don't because you are gay. I don't like you because you're white. I don't like you because you're black. I don't like you because you don't look like me. I don't like you because But when I can like me and be okay with me and embrace all of who I am, my God essence. And if I'm okay, you're okay.
You're okay. Ah, yes, I have chills all over. Yes, that's it.
But if I'm not okay, then
I judge
you,
you. Mhm.
and in these storms, if we pause long enough to ask whatever high power, whomever, Larry, show me what I'm supposed to glean or learn out of these experiences, these storms that wreak havoc in my life and in the lives of my loved ones. What am I being taught in these teachable moments?
Bingo. Thank you. I just love that this happened. And
Always.
thank you everybody for watching. We'll be back next week. Peace and love and namaste. And Alan Watts, he's a hippie.
Bye-bye.
Bye.